This is a critical Ron. This Ron is the first Ron in Megillah. Is really the Ron that in my opinion opens up major doors and understanding how Purim was constructed. Okay, it's such a critical Ron. And also, I'm telling you right now, when you get into the brains of Chazal when you do this Ron, the Ron takes you into the minds of Chazal. Okay, so watch, go. Good. So what does that mean now? In other words, he's saying that the Ron's first question is that why did Chazal go ahead and divide up Purim into 2 days? Okay, but what does he mean by that question? What is he really bothered by? Is he bothered by the fact that a Yontif could be 2 days?
That's two different chlukim.
But insofar as what?
As it's the same day.
What do you mean?
Well, it's the same.
So what's bothering him is like this. Potentially speaking, okay, is there any halachic nafkamina whatsoever between Yudal and Tesvav Adar?
No.
The people who celebrate Shushan Purim and Yerushalayim, did they do anything different than us celebrating Yudal and Modi'in? No, nothing at all. So no halacha nafkamina. What?
We do Yudal and Modi'in?
Yeah, no, of course. So if that's the case, what's the problem? No, the problem is that you're going to end up having, let's say hypothetically, 50% of the Jewish people celebrating on the 14th. And 50% celebrating the 15th. How could you ever set up a holiday like that? Yeah. We're talking about a yontif that's based on the notion of Hodal and Nes, that we're giving thanks to God for this tremendous miracle that affected all the Jews. And what are you saying? We're saying that half of them will celebrate this day and the other half the other day. Meaning you'll have one day where half the people aren't celebrating it. That's a crazy thing. Okay? Keep going. What principle does this violate? If you have, Chazal can never, think about it, Chazal can never be Koveya, and they can never establish a holiday where half the people will do it on day A and the other half on, bless you.
No, not coming. Yeah.
So what's Torah Achas and Mishpat Echad? What does that mean? Torah Achas, one Torah, Mishpat Echad. So what does that mean? So it means that if you're going to be Koveya a Yantiv, right, for example, you can't do it so that half the people do it one day and half to do it the other day. Right? That's a violation of the notion of Torah Achas Mishpat Echad. The Rabbanan don't make halachas for one group of people and then not for another group of people. It doesn't make any sense. It's Torah for everybody. Everybody's bound by the same Torah. Okay? So does everyone understand the question?
There's differences between men.
No reason to set it up this way. Now go on.
There's to say.
It says that the first dividing point is that each, in other words, there are the Jews in the unwalled cities, okay, and then the Jews in Shushan. No mention of walled cities, so don't bring in walled cities yet. The Jews in every city around the world, other than Shushan, celebrated on the 14th, because what happened on the 14th? They were victorious. Yeah. They no longer find enemies, so when they make their party on the 14th. And what about the residents of Shushan? They made their party on 15th. They needed an extra day to go ahead and defeat their enemies. Okay, so he's saying, the distinction he's making between the two Yamim is that it goes based on who did what when. So the Purim did it on the 14th. Shushan did it on the 15th.
It's kind of like the one.
How many is not? Why is this not a compelling argument?
It's just explaining the difference.
So what?
It's not even like answering anything.
Good. Okay. Even more so. Very good.
It's not taking aside the fact of the Torah.
Very good. Okay. Good. So Pinsky hit it. So the problem now, the problem at this point is that we're not taking into account. How does this resolve Torah Achas and Mishpat Echad? How does it resolve it? It doesn't. Okay. But even more so, right? Torah Achas Mishpat Echad, meaning that you set up one Torah for everybody. Okay. But even more than that. So why not do, what's another solution they could have come up with?
What was the answer again?
All he's saying right now is that, he's saying the first step is that Yud Daled was the Purim, they celebrated on that day, and Shushan celebrated on the 15th because we need an extra day.
On the 15th. That's when every single person was victorious.
Oh, okay. So that's the other question you have to ask. The other question you have to ask is that he's not giving a compelling argument for why it can't be on one day. So make it one day. So Ezra proposes the 15th. I tend to agree with that. Right? Why? That everyone was done defeating their enemies. Right, it's doing on the 15th. But you can even argue doing it only on the 14th. Right?
Because most people...
Exactly. But why have it on these 2 days? He hasn't answered why have it on these 2 days. Okay? So that's the first thing we have to answer. Okay? Keep going. When they went ahead and decided to make Purim and Koveya Ladoros, right? They were Koveya, they established it based on the day that those people celebrated on. Or I should say, where they rested from their enemies and celebrated. So what's the basis for Yud Daled for the Purim? Because that's the day they celebrated on. Okay? And therefore what? The Hishvu Kol HaKracham HaMukafim Chomel L'Shushan V'nei Sheba Haya Ikar Nes. That's critical. Okay? So what do? So they went ahead and they equated, okay, walled cities with Shushan. Because what happened in Shushan? Shushan was the Iker Hanes, the fundamental miracle. Okay? So now, what questions you have to ask on this now? There's a serious problem the Ran is presenting here. Okay? He's saying, Vehishvu kol krachim, they equated all the krachim with Shushan. Let me ask you a simple question. Okay? Why did the Chachamim go ahead and equate, forget walled cities per se, why did they look to extend Shushan to other cities? Shushan Purim to other cities? What was the concern?
People would forget.
Why would they forget? Good. Why would they forget? What would happen?
It would just be on the 14th, and no one would remember about Shushan on
Why?
the 15th.
Why? Because what would happen over time to Shushan?
It would just wouldn't exist anymore.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Cease to exist. Over let's say 500 years, there'd be no more Shushan. Right? So they want to ensure that Shushan continued to exist. So how do you do that? You create this link. You take Shushan and extend it to other cities. Okay? They duplicated Shushan to a certain extent. What do they use to duplicate Shushan? What feature? Krachim, walled.
Why?
Okay. Next question. Why
Maybe that has
walled?
to do with the nace?
Oh, I don't know yet. We don't know. But right now, why use walled cities as the barometer? Let me ask you a question. Does Shushan have other features to it? Other than being, Shushan was a walled city.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it began with a shin. So why not extend Shushan Purim to any city that begins with a shin?
Why walled cities though from Yeshua ben Nun?
We're going to get to that. Hold on. That's the next thing. Right? But that's the other question you have to ask. What is it about, my word, walledness, okay, or the feature of being walled, that they chose as being the thing they're going to extend, what do you call it, Shushan to other cities for? One last question. He says Shushan is the Ikar Nes. What does that mean?
Meaning the rest of the rove was less.
Not Ikar Nes?
Yeah.
Oh, so what question did we ask before that now is emphasized, strengthened now? What day should we celebrate Purim on?
With the
Everyone should do Tezvav.
The fifth, exactly. Every Jew Tesvav. Tesvav should be the day that you do. That's the Ikar Nes. So what does he mean by Ikar Nes? What does he mean by Ikar Nes? Okay.
I thought it was the inception of the Nace. That was the way.
The what?
The inception of the Nace.
What do you mean?
Like where the Nace began.
Oh, so you're right. That's correct. But why is that critical? What are they looking to do? Okay. Hold on. We're going to answer all this stuff. Okay. Now keep going. That's step 2. Now comes step 3. Step 3 is gives the reason why Yeshua ben Nun is because he wants to be cholek kavod le'eretz Yisrael, to bestow honor on Israel. Okay. What question you have to ask on that?
How did he do that?
More than that.
Didn't he not go into Israel at the time? Sure.
He did, but I'm saying, the reason why I'm going to cheat ahead. Okay. The Ran says later on. He says Israel during that period of time, the land of Israel was desolate. Okay. There were basically no walled cities. Okay. So what would happen if they went ahead and extended, Shushan Purim to walled cities only from the time of Achashverosh? Would Shushan Purim be celebrated in Eretz Yisrael?
What?
The land of Israel was in a state of desolation. Okay, it wasn't built up. It was destroyed during the time of the midst of Purim. Okay, the miracle of Purim took place during a period of time, according to the Ran, where the land of Israel was desolate, meaning there were no walled cities. So let's say I hold.
Okay, so then there would be not celebrating in Israel.
What wouldn't be celebrated in Israel?
Purim.
No.
Oh, Shushan.
Shushan Purim. Okay, so the Ran says it would be a gnai. It would be degrading if you had a situation where Shushan Purim was never celebrated in Eretz Yisrael.
What about?
But as you put it so eloquently,
What?
Right? Because why? Because what are you bringing covered Eretz Yisrael in now for? What's that have to do with anything?
What does that do with the nace?
What does it do with the nace? What does that have to do with the nace? That's the question. What does it do with the nace? Okay. All right. Those are the questions. That's the Ran. We're not going to do the Ramban yet. That's the Ran. Okay. That side holds that. Which walled cities are we referring to when we say a walled city that you celebrate Shushan Purim in? It's a city that was walled from the times of Yeshua ben Nun. Because if you did it based on the times of Achashverosh, if you went to Eretz Yisrael during the times of Achashverosh's reign, you wouldn't see any walled cities, and therefore all Eretz Yisrael would be one big prazim.
So why would anyone hold that?
Hold what?
Stuff.
That's a good question. Well, we have to find that machlokas at some point, but not now. Okay, that's a good question. That's a the Gemara based on the base. Okay. So let's go back to the first question. Okay. First question is that the Ran says, why is Purim 2 days? Okay, because it violates Torah Achas Mishpat Echad. And the first move he starts making is that this notion of they celebrated on the 14th. These people celebrated on the 14th, and these people celebrated on the 15th. Okay, what is he really telling you? What is the idea of the fact that they celebrated on the 14th and Shushan celebrated on the 15th? And he's saying that's what they were kovea. Okay, what's the what's the ideas he's expressing there? The Ran's telling us an idea, or a certain way that Chazal operate when it comes to formulating these types of Durabanans. Okay, why was it so important for them to take what took place on the 14th and say one day will be for that, and on the 15th and one day be for that? Why?
Well, must not.
Pesach. Okay, what day is Pesach celebrated on?
15th.
15th of Nisan.
Nisan.
What happened on the 15th of Nisan?
I don't know. They got out of Mitzrayim.
Yes, Yetzias Mitzrayim. B'chol davar dor chayev adam laharos es atzmo k'yul yatzim Mitzrayim, right? And what day was that? The 15th of Nisan.
Okay.
Okay. On the 7th day of Pesach, what do we commemorate?
The splitting.
Thank you. Kriyas Yamsuf. What day did Kriyas Yamsuf take place on? The 7th day of Pesach.
Okay.
Right? What about Shavuos? Shavuos commemorates what?
Torah.
And what day was the Torah given on? The day we celebrate Shavuos.
Okay.
Tisha B'Av. What happened on Tisha B'Av? The destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. What day did that take place on? Tisha B'Av. Okay? What do you notice in common there? Is one theme.
The commemoration of the day.
Okay, which is what? What the day is chosen not just because of the day, but what are you doing on that day? You're what?
Zecher.
Zecher, meaning you're there's a historical accuracy that's important here. Let's say you celebrated Pesach in June, okay?
Yeah.
What would be the problem with that?
Well, what the heck? Why?
Because it didn't have. You celebrate on the day something took place.
Okay.
Now that is a formula that's used in the Torah. All right. If there's a historical event, and you're going to commemorate the historical event, the Yom Tov falls out on the day the event took place. Okay.
Right.
Thus, what are Chazal faced with here?
Well, they're a quandary because it took place on both days.
Oh, okay. So what do you have? You have a problem. You see, without question, that Purim took place on 2 days, meaning that Nachum Moivayim, and we want to capture. Okay, we want to capture the Noach Moivayim and be Kovel Doros. But the thing is that the Prozim did it on Yudalid and Shushan did it on Tezvav. So ideally, that's what you want to do. You want to have a Yudalid and a Tezvav. But what principle does that violate?
The Torah Achaz.
Torah Achaz, right? So now you have a problem. You have competing principles now. On the one hand, Chazal must operate based on the notion that we're trying to recreate, we commemorate the event on the day it took place. That's the objective, right? On the other hand, and therefore you have two different events, right? On the other hand, though, you Torah Achaz Mishpat Echad, right? So what are they supposed to do? Okay, what's the answer? So he says, the Hishvu kol kracham l'Shushan, okay? Because Shushan was the Ikar Nes. What does it mean that Shushan was the Ikar Nes? This is step 2 now. What's the Shushan being Ikar Nes have to do with anything? What's he saying? This question. Chazal were very concerned that Shushan Purim continued to exist. So they went ahead and took this notion of Kracham and was mitzaref it. They attached it to Shushan. They said, we'll take Shushan and we'll expand it through Kracham, right? Kracham will be the method to expand Shushan, to ensure it doesn't die out. Why couldn't Shushan Purim die out? Because he says, what happened in Shushan? It was the Ikar Hanes. Okay, Ikar Hanes, okay? So, let's go back to what you were saying before. What is the Ikar Hanes? What does that mean? What happened in Shushan?
Well, those were the decree originated.
The decree, the takana,
Right.
the plan, all the events that led to the Nes started in, or centralized in Shushan.
Right.
Okay? Now, so the question is like this. The question is, and here's the move. This is the move, okay? The move is like this. Extending Shushan to ensure that Shushan Purim, okay, does not die out, who is that really for, ultimately?
Judaism.
No.
Too vague. What do you mean by Judaism?
Uh,
Not Judaism, not for the religion, but for who? Who's it for?
Wall City
For
people.
the
Is it? If it were Wall City people, then you have Torah Achas Mishpat Echad as a problem.
Right. So it must be
they're not Walled City.
everyone.
Everyone.
Oh.
Everyone. Which means what?
Kind of like Judaism.
No, but which means what? Which means that Shushan Purim for the Shushanites, right? For them has to continue to exist because of the Ikar Nes. But for Yudalit people, we also need to know that there's a 15th. You have to know that the 15th of Purim exists. Why? Because what that does is that makes sure you focus on the fact that the Iker Nes took place in Shushan. In other words, that's why it's not a violation of Torah Achas Mishpat Echad.
Oh.
It's everyone. Because it's also for my benefit as a Yudala guy.
People are doing it today.
I'm doing it tomorrow.
it's
The knowledge that I know people are celebrating Shushan Purim makes me aware of the Iker Nes. That's the Ron's move.
Why is it
That's
Iker
such brilliance.
Why is it Eganis?
Oh, because that's where the what do you call it? That's where the Takana and the Xera and the plan came out. It doesn't mean it's the more important Nes. It means that there's certain events that took place in Shushan that if you weren't acutely aware of, it was lacking your own experience of Purim. So the fact that I know that there are people celebrating on the 15th, that institution exists, that's what makes my Yudala complete. And that's why it's not a violation of Torah Achas Mishpat Echad. It's for everyone. Each day, in a sense, has this dual identity to it. They infused Yudal and Tesvav in each day. Right? But they still have to maintain the historical accuracy. So that's why you still have to have Yudal and Tesvav, because Yudal was Prazim and Tesvav was Shushan. But the knowledge on Yudal that I know what took place in Tesvav, that's what makes it, a valid edict.
Why do we have to do it through Krochem?
Whoa. Tough guy. Okay, so hold on. Next step. But let's make sure. Does everyone understand the mechanism Chazal use for every kavir? Because it has to be. If you're commemorating an event, we're saying the Nes of Purim. It has to be on the day that Purim took place.
We always do that though, even like Hanukkah and like other.
Hanukkah took place on Chafei B'Kislev. That's the day that the candle was lit. That they lit the menorah.
But it was only in Yerushalayim, right?
It's not the question of location. It's a question of when the commemoration took place. When the event took place. And we try to bottle that. We want to take the day it took place. That's not a crazy idea. It loses its efficacy if you're telling me like 6 months later, if I celebrate Purim in June.
Okay.
What do you mean? But it happened. It happened.
Why shouldn't everyone do Tezvav?
What do you mean? Why shouldn't? Why shouldn't? Because on your
It still happened in Yudal.
it's still happening in Daled.
Huge victory.
The Nachal, right? The Rove of the Jews celebrate on the 14th. You understand?
Oh, okay. And so Iker
Now is what's the idea of Krachim? Okay, why pick Krachim? Okay, so this is tricky. Okay, but I have an answer.
Does
Which is why do they choose walled cities? Okay, now remember the first thing I told you was that when Chazal go ahead and decide to be koveya, like let's say like this day, like a Purim, right? They need precedence. Precedence is the key. Okay, so listen to this. Kol Eretz Yisrael. This is the Rambam, Perek Zayin, and Hilchos Beis Bechira, Halach Yudbeis, and Yudgimel. Kol Eretz Yisrael Mekudash Mikol Aratzos. Okay, so the Israel is more Mekudash, all right,
Yeah.
sanctified, right, than every other land. Okay, now listen to this. Okay, Eser Kedushos Heim Eretz Yisrael v'Zul Malam Mizu. There are 10 levels of kedusha in Eretz Yisrael. So Eretz Yisrael itself is kadosh, and then within it there's these multiple layers of kedusha. Okay, Ayaros. Hamukafos Choma Mikudashos Mishar Arts. Okay? The walled cities are more sanctified than any other city in Eretz Yisrael. Okay? And he gives examples why. You don't you send out the Mitzorim from there, you don't bury a mason there. Why? That's a separate question. I don't know why. I don't really care. Right? What I do know is one thing. Why this is the why question I do know. Why did Chazal choose walled cities?
I can see that maybe because
Come on, you got it.
those cities will be preserved more.
No.
Because of the walls.
What are they looking for? What are they looking for?
They want it to be commemorated.
What? But
So there will always be walled cities around.
there aren't always walled cities around. They still get destroyed. But what are they trying to do? What if they're gonna? They need to choose. They have to choose a
They
feature.
need like a kadosh feature. You can't just have any feature.
Because what? Oh, okay, good. But what's the kadosh feature mean? Because it could have been cities outside of Eretz Yisrael also that were walled. But what they're looking for is what? They're looking for when they choose a feature to duplicate. Okay, what's going to guide them? This is the point I want to get across. Halacha, right? So they have to find a precedent. Again, precedent. That's the Ron's theme here. A precedent. There's already a precedent for what distinguishes one city from another being walled. That's a halachic abstract differentiation. Okay, there's nothing in the city, so it's walled. Who cares? It's just a feature. But Allah takes that feature and gives it a sense of chashivas. So they took the chashivas that already existed of halacha chashivas of walled cities and they applied it to Shushan. That's the move they make.
Nice.
Okay, that's a nice simple move. Okay, which leads to now the question of the last question.
What?
Last question. Kavod Eretz Yisrael.
Okay.
Why? What's the idea of Kavod Eretz Yisrael here? Why is Kavod Eretz Yisrael? What would be the problem if in Eretz Yisrael we only celebrated Yudalad Purim? Big deal. Why is it so important they celebrate Tesvav? What message does that send? What message does that send?
It's not historical accuracy.
What?
It's not historical accuracy.
We're way past that point. No more historical accuracy. Now we're only dealing with one thing. We're dealing with why is it, the Ran says that the reason why they chose cities from the times of Yeshua ben Nun is they wanted to ensure that there were walled cities in Eretz Yisrael that celebrated Shushan Purim. Meaning that today, you'll have a lot of people in Israel celebrate Yadal, and other people celebrate Tesvav. But if you didn't do it from Yeshua ben Nun, what would happen? There'd be no celebration of Shushan Purim. Okay? Why do we care about Kabbalah Eretz Yisrael? What do we care? What's the Gnai? What's the Gnai?
Well, how do we get past the historical accuracy thing?
What do you mean? We're way past that.
No, not.
Come on. He just Purim did not happen in Eretz Yisrael, right? Where did it happen? Right? So what's the problem? There's a problem there. If no one celebrates Shushan Purim in Eretz Yisrael, okay, what distortion will emerge? Remember, the Ikra Nes is in Shushan.
That it's not part completely.
So if Eretz Yisrael is not the center of Hashgacha, right, that's a bizayon. Okay? So if you had no celebration of Shushan Purim, right, the message that would get across is that the Hashgacha that took place in Shushan was an ideal situation. It wasn't an ideal. The Nes was great for the Jews, but ideally they were in Gullus, right? You don't want that. You don't want that. So that's how it would detract from Eretz Yisrael. You should view Eretz Yisrael as the center of Hashgachas Hashem. That's where Hashgacha is localized, so to speak. Okay? So that's why it's covered Eretz Yisrael. Okay? So, again, and that is precedence. Because you see, in Eretz Yisrael, you always have an idea of Hashgacha is always centered there. So what's the Ran's overall point? The Ran, I think, is getting into the mind of Chazal and showing us how Chazal struggled in being Misaki in Purim as 2 days. Okay? And he shows step by step how 2 days, the importance of historical accuracy, how you get around Torah Achas Mishpat Echad, right?
It all stems from the historical accuracy.
100%. 100%. If you look at the Megillah reflects that, because the Megillah says, Mordechai says, Eis Yom Arba Asar Bo, Eis Yom Arba Asar, Eis Yom Chamisha Asar. The Mordechai set it up. I mean, it's at the same time it's Chazal, but the point is, the Megillah says they're setting up this day for these people and this day for this people, because that's the day that they were Noach Mo'evehem, the day that they stopped fighting their enemies. So he set it up that way.